Hey guys, welcome to the clubhouse. I'm Billy Jackson, and today's review is going to be on Barbie. Okay, now, when I first saw the first trailer for this movie, I remember distinctly looking over at my buddy and being like, we are not going to go see this. Then, saw the second trailer, and I remember looking at him and going, we're going to go see that. Because in the first trailer, I thought it was going to be, like a G-type movie, G-rated type movie, made for kids, under 10 years old. So I had really no interest in watching the movie. I mean, it's a Barbie movie. I'm not the demographic for this film. But when the second trailer came out, it was about Barbie going from the toy world into the real world. And I thought it was going to be like this fish out of water type thing, And then the reviews came out, and people were saying it had a darker tone. It was PG-13. So I actually had an interest in watching this movie, as weird as it may sound, because I thought it was going to be really good. And was it? No. Guys, I say no just because I'm not the demographic for this movie. I mean, I can see people loving this movie. I had a good time, like the first 30, 45 minutes of the movie, honestly, because I thought it was going to go in a certain direction. And I audibly laughed out loud many times in this movie. There are a lot of good, funny moments in it, I thought. But when she transverses into the real world, and it's not the real world like I thought it was going to be, depicted. I thought it was going to be a gritty, like the real world. But the real world in this movie was kind of just a goofy alternate reality, where stuff doesn't really happen in real life. It wasn't a real depiction of a real world. And it wasn't like a fish out of water thing. I mean, it was like they knew that she had come into the real world and they were trying to get her back into the toy world. And they're in the real world for maybe 15, 20 minutes of the movie. Then they go back to Barbie land, or whatever you want to call it. And most of the movie takes place there. And I thought that the movie was going to take place in the real world, and it was about Barbie being in the real world. So it threw me for a loop when it didn't go that route. And, the beginning of the movie, I thought I was seeing it going in an upward trajectory for me. But then it just went straight downhill right when they went back to the Barbie land. Or should I call it the Ken land? Because honestly, this movie could have been called Ken instead of Barbie. Because really, it was about Barbie and Ken, and at moments it was addressing Barbie's issues, and then it switched to Ken's issues, and I didn't know it was going to be like that. And that being said, I thought Ryan Gosling did an awesome job as Ken. He did great. And Margot Robbie did an awesome job as Barbie. Oh, and that being said about the real world being kind of this goofy, non-reality real world, Will Ferrell crushed it. I mean, almost every line that he said, I was cracking up to. But that's to be expected from him because he's a wonderful comedian. And I loved his performance in this movie. Like I was saying, the actors and actresses did phenomenal in this movie. I thought they were great. I just thought that the movie itself just wasn't geared for someone like me. Like I said before, I did have a good time in the first 30, 45 minutes when they were making jokes. And there was a lot of references to Barbie stuff and, stuff that I didn't understand or get. But, half the audience was female in the theater, and they were laughing and at certain jokes that I didn't get because they didn't make it for me. They made it for young girls, to get. And I got that they got it. So it was cool in that aspect that I saw that other people were enjoying it, more than me. So that's great, and that means that you might enjoy it more than I did. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was just okay. But it started out great, but then it kind of just went downhill for me when they started to get serious. It started, dealing with Barbie having to tried to find the girl who plays with her when she's a toy in the real world, and to discover that, it's not the girl, it's the mom, and the mom was trying to relate to her daughter, and Barbie was trying to save the family dynamic. It kind of just lost track for me, and that's I don't want to say it's unfortunate, because it's not. It's just that it wasn't made for me. It was made for teenage girls. That's who this movie's demographic is. Teenage girls. And when I say teenage, I mean 13 and up. This movie is not for kids. And I thought it was going to be, They had some sexual innuendos in this movie that really blew my mind. Like, did they really just say that? And I understand they made those jokes for the adults that are taking their kids to see this. And not that it says it, does that throughout the whole movie, but it's definitely sprinkled in here and there, from beginning to end, these certain things that I thought were inappropriate for this movie, honestly. But that being said, like I did say, I laughed, and there was a lot of moments that I laughed in this movie. I got most of the jokes, Not all the jokes land in this movie. They did try to push the envelope on trying to be too funny, I thought. And they suffer from that thing that all movies are doing nowadays. Like, everything has to be funny. But this was made as a comedy, so I get that they were, trying to be funny. But they didn't all land. I'd say about maybe 60% of the jokes landed. For me, as a 50-year-old man that's watching this movie, really for the channel and for you guys. Because I think it's relevant, because this thing is skyrocketing at the box office. People are going to see this movie. People are loving this movie. I didn't love it. I just liked it. I thought it was okay. But I think that young teenage girls are going to love this movie. And they dress up and go out and see it, and they cosplay. And I think that's great. And that makes for a great theater experience for them. But this movie was just not for me. But it's not all about what I think. What do you think? Have you seen Barbie? Do you like it? Do you plan on seeing it? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like my videos and subscribe to my channel. And as always, make yourself happy every day. And the only way to do that is to remember the only thing stopping you is you stopping. Bam!